Think you know Greek myths? This is not the story you were told. The hero is not what he seems. The monster is not who you expect. Medusa's fate was sealed, not by evil, but by betrayal and injustice. Her legacy is punishment, isolation, a name twisted by fear. Some say monsters are born, others are made. So, what do you believe? Step into the marble halls where Medusa's legend was shaped. Her image, stamped on shields and carved above doorways, became both a warning and a promise. On ancient pottery, her gaping fangs and bulging eyes warn viewers. Monsters guard our gates. Her name, whispered in the dark, was meant to keep children close and danger at bay. Medusa's head became an apotropaic symbol. Gorgonia carved above thresholds to ward off evil, a protective ritual described in classical sources. The monster's face, fierce and unblinking, was not just a threat. It was a shield against the unknown. In these stories, Medusa was stripped of her humanity. She became a mask, wide eyes, mouth frozen mid-scream, hair a tangle of living snakes. Her legend was not just a tale of terror, but a tool wielded by those in power. City leaders stamped her face onto coins, as if her glare could hold back misfortune. Warriors pressed her image into their armor, hoping her power would turn aside blades. Her story, repeated on stone and clay, was a lesson. Challenge the order of the gods, and lose everything. But who decided Medusa was a monster to begin with? The legend was shaped by those who needed a warning. Her beauty, in some versions, was called arrogance. Her transformation, a punishment for those who dared too much. According to Ovid's later account, Athena cursed Medusa for the temple's defilement. That irony is worth unpacking. The myth became a cautionary tale, serving those at the top. Medusa's story was rewritten as a weapon, her fate a lesson for all who might threaten the balance of power. Look closer at the Gorgoneion, a round disc bearing her wild-eyed stare. Hung above doors, it kept evil spirits away. Soldiers wore it into battle. Merchants hid it among their wares. If her face was pure evil, why did it guard the good? Maybe she wasn't simply a curse. Maybe she was the shield, both literally in the hands of Athena and Perseus, and symbolically at the boundary between order and chaos. Her mask confuses even now. Is she a danger or a protector? Then the hero enters the legend. Armed by Hermes and Athena's gifts, a reflective shield and winged sandals, Perseus sought Medusa's head. The myth paints him as a savior, the crowd's applause echoing through time. But when the sword falls and Medusa is slain, what remains? Her severed head becomes a trophy, fixed to Athena's armor, paraded before the people as a spoil of war. Her story is reduced to an object. Her terror is harnessed by those who never knew her. With each retelling, the lines are drawn sharper. Who deserves pity? Who deserves blame? But history is written by the victors. What details were carved away to make Medusa a monster? What truths lie hidden in the cracks of ancient marble and the shadows of old temples? The myth's power comes from fear, but fear always hides something deeper. Medusa is more than a nightmare. She is a symbol, controlled and reshaped each time her story is told. But before the mask, before the curse, who was she really? In the shadows behind the legend, a living woman waits. Her true story is just beginning. Hesiod's Theogony presents Medusa as born a monster, a Gorgon, terrifying from the first breath. But Ovid's metamorphoses changes everything. Suddenly, Medusa is not a beast, but a woman. Her story begins not with fangs, but with trust. She serves as a priestess sworn to Athena, her days marked by ritual and devotion. In the early hours, the temple air is heavy with incense, the hush broken only by the soft murmur of hymns. Medusa moves through the sacred space, hands arranging offerings, her gaze lifted in silent prayer. Her life is ordered, watched by the cold eyes of marble gods. Then, Ovid's tale turns. The sea god Poseidon, drawn by Medusa's beauty, enters the temple. Not as a worshipper, but as a violator. In the holiest sanctuary, he takes what he wants. The columns stand silent. The gods do not intervene. The moment passes, but the world shifts. Medusa is left in the aftermath, her devotion shattered, her innocence stolen. In Ovid's version, justice is twisted. Athena, enraged at the desecration of her shrine, punishes not Poseidon, but Medusa. The goddess descends, not as a protector, but as an accuser. Her anger is sharp, her judgment is final. Medusa's hair writhes into snakes, her once gentle gaze becomes deadly. Her stare becomes a forced weapon, self-defense turned irreversible horror. The transformation is not a rescue. It is a sentence. Why would Athena punish the priestess, not her attacker? Some say the goddess sought to defend her temple's honor. Others see a warning to all who threaten the order of the gods. But the cruelty is clear. Medusa's suffering is made visible, her pain weaponized. She is cast out, marked by what was done to her, stripped of her place and her peace. The myth echoes with silence from Olympus. The gods watch, untouched. No one calls for justice. Medusa's agony is her own, her punishment a lesson for others. Her beauty is erased. Her humanity is lost beneath a mask of terror. Each retelling deepens the wound. The temple's quiet is broken not by prayer, but by the memory of Medusa's cry. Ovid's Medusa is tragedy, not terror. Her fate is sealed by divine injustice, a cycle where the powerful decide and the powerless are left to bear the cost. Her isolation is not just exile, but erasure. She steps from the temple, changed and alone, the world eager to forget the woman behind the monster. Beyond the temple, her story darkens. The pain of betrayal lingers, shaping the legend that grows in her absence. The world turns away, but the myth endures, waiting at the edge of the map, where silence, stone, and memory meet. Exiled to a windswept isle, littered with petrified trespassers, Medusa's power became her prison. Every living being she met turned to stone. Stone figures of soldiers line her shores, silent witnesses to her torment. The world remembers her not as a woman, but as a curse embodied. A warning whispered by sailors and feared by distant villages. No one wonders about the cost of such isolation or the ache of being seen only as a monster. But legends draw hunters. One night, Perseus arrives, sent by the gods, not for mercy, but for conquest. Hermes' winged sandals and Athena's mirrored shield are his weapons, gifts to help him confront Medusa without meeting her gaze. The world beyond her island waits for a hero, ready to celebrate the slaying of evil. Perseus moves in silence, the myth tightening around him with each step. Is this quest about heroism or the execution of a wronged priestess, hidden behind legend? The final moment is swift. Perseus angles the shield, seeing only her reflection. Medusa, alert and worn by years of fear, senses the threat. The fight is brief. No words, only the scrape of stone and the hiss of snakes. His blade flashes. The world erupts in victory, but on the island, only stillness remains. Perseus lifts her head, still crowned with serpents, and carries it away as a prize. Her death brings no peace. The head is displayed on Athena's shield, raised over armies and city gates, used as a weapon to threaten all who stand in the way of power. Her humanity is erased. Her pain is transformed into a tool of fear. Power borrows her rage, never her sorrow. Yet the image refuses to fade. Through centuries, rulers and artists wield her face, sometimes as a warning, sometimes as a shield. But over time, something shifts. Medusa's face is reborn. In the hands of feminist artists and writers, the myth twists again. Sculptor Luciano Garbati offers a reversal. Medusa with the head of Perseus. Here, she stands strong, eyes clear, holding the evidence of her suffering and her power. The victim becomes the survivor, her posture a challenge to those who once condemned her. Modern authors give her voice, breaking the silence that defined her for millennia. Medusa becomes a mirror for all who endure injustice, her legend pulsing through the Me Too movement and the stories of survivors who refuse to be turned to stone by shame. Her image is reclaimed as a symbol of resistance, agency, and survival. Even as her face appears in fashion and commercial symbols, debates rage. Can her story remain a force for empowerment, or is it diluted by profit and spectacle? Medusa's legacy is no longer just a cautionary tale. She stands as a challenge to the stories we inherit, a reminder that power can twist truth and silence the innocent. Did Perseus slay a monster or execute a wronged priestess, hidden behind legend? Her myth endures not as an answer, but as a question, one that lingers wherever power meets silence, and innocence is left to bear the weight of legend. Medusa's curse reveals how criminals of power remained unscathed, while victims were branded as monsters. Her story, once used to silence and control, now echoes with new meaning. Today, feminist art and literature reclaim Medusa as a symbol of survivor empowerment, not fear. Her face stands for those who have been wronged. Her legend is reshaped into a voice that refuses to be quiet. When we summon monsters, do we glimpse our own fears of victims we refuse to understand? Next time you see Medusa's face, ask yourself whose story is really being told, and whose remains invisible. And if these echoes moved you, keep the legends alive. Subscribe, share your voice below, and stay with us here in Lore and Legends.